Hello everyone, this video is the second part of week 9, Introduction to Digital Library. Our school does have another library course, digital library course, which is as 562, and we also have a metadata course as 566. So this will be just a very brief introduction. Those two courses, I strongly recommend you to consider taking them. The 562 should be taught by Dr. Ritter, Robert Ritter, and as 566 should be taught by Dr. McCall. So those two are both very good courses. You should consider to take them. Okay, so in today's slides, here you will see our second discussion board post, the definition of digital library. So I will give you more details later. The first thing is, of course, what is digital libraries? So we all familiar with libraries, right? So a library is a collection or collections of creative and informational sources such as books and other materials selected, organized, and maintained for use in study, research, or leisure. As librarians, we should provide services that could facilitate access and the use of material to meet user needs. The emphasis is generally on current, up-to-date materials. The increase in electronic material has made it possible to access library resources from anywhere, anytime. However, there is, at least I didn't see commonly agreed definition of digital library. So there are many definitions of digital libraries. Some are very simple, others are more detailed. So the term digital library means different things to different people. This is an example of the digital library program in the University of Chicago. So now they changed its name to Digital Collections, but it used to be called Digital Library Program. So you can see there are different digital collections of maps, photographs, manuscripts, images, and so on. So I think they considered this digital library program as large digital collections. But some other scholars, some other researchers define digital library as, for example, an online version of library, a database, and of course, it could also be a collection of digital objects. So this one considered digital library as a logic extension and argumentations of physical libraries. It's online version of library. This one, digital libraries are collections of digital objects. Manage the collection of informations and serves. Organizations that provide the resources, including the specialized staff to select, structure, offer intellectual access to interpret, distribute, preserve of the integrity of and ensure the persistence of a type of collections of digital works. So basically, still a collection of digital objects. So although the definitions of data libraries could vary, It is always useful when the library defines the mission of its data library and activities uh, of that digital library. So this is a example of data library missions and activities. So you can see our work includes the digitalization of long-term management of selected library collections and materials such as images, manuscript, paper, time-based media, and digital content, and access to the results of the digital library program work, digital publication, um, exploration of emerging trades and technology in digital production and publishing. Okay, so this is your second discussion board post, which has 15 points. So post one sentence definition for each question here. First question is what else you can think of important aspects in defining a digital library. So you have see different definitions here, right? So most of them, from my view, they are focused more on the materials. They focused more on what is inside of the collections. So they kind of use what is inside of the collections to define what is a digital library. So can you think about any other factor, any other aspects you can use to define data library, for example, from its user or from its infrastructure, from its organization, and so on. So this is the first question. The second question is what is not a digital library? So you can say that the database is not a digital library as long as it makes sense. And the third one is what is your definition of a digital library? For these three questions, you don't need to think about just from your view. You can search online, do some research to see what are some other scholars said. But if you use reference, you should put in your answer. And please use APA style to cite their works. So here, if you go to the course website, or I should go to the student view and discussion board, and this is post 2. What is your definition of a digital library? So just one sentence definition of each and 5 points for each question. This one is due by November 3rd, which is the end of next week. You can just post your answers by replying my thread. Okay, so this is the definition of digital library. And the second part is the digital library project management. So building a digital library, a digital collection, could be very expensive and resource intensive. So it is important to consider some basic principles underlying the design, implementations, and maintenance of any digital library. So this is the some principles I found in my research. So these principles are applied not only to convention projects in which physical objects are converted to digital form. For example, you scan maps or manuscripts, uh, but also to digital library in which the objects have always be in digital forms, and to mix the digital library in which the objects may be of both type. So, most of them I think are very easy to understand. I just want to emphasize the this one. Beware of data right, because you may have copyright issues. So this is very important. So I'm I'm not an expert in copyright legal issues, but from here slide 14 to 17, I try to give you some basic idea about copyright ownership, fair use, public domain that's related to digital library creations. So the collection and long-term preservation of digital content always pose challenges to the intellectual property, ways in which libraries and archives are accustomed to working. How to achieve a appropriate balance between copyright owners and users is a topic of ongoing debate in legal and policy circles. So, a copyright exists in any original work of authorship fixed in a tangible media. The media can be almost everything, not only box. For a work to be original, it must meet two qualifications. First is it can not be copied from another work. Second is it must exhibit at least a small amount of credibilities. Copyright here in US lasts for the life of the author and then 70 years. Copyright are not absolute, they are subject to a number of limiting principles and exceptions. So there are two principles I think are most related to the creation of a digital library or digital collection. First is the section 108 of the Copyright Act. So libraries and archives are permitted to make up to 3 copies of an unpublished copyrighted work for purpose of preservation and security, or for deposit for research use in another libraries or archive. So the work must be currently in the collection of the library or archives, and any copy made in digital format may not be made available to the public in that format outside the library permits. Basically, if you want to digitize collections which is already in your library, that's probably fine. So you will not violate copyright. And another exception is fair use. I'm not sure if you have heard about fair use before. So this is the fair use index. So whether a use is fair depends on the facts of a particular case. So here We have four facts. You must evaluate those four facts when a fair use decision can be made. The first fact is the purpose and character of the use. So, among the consideration is whether the use is for commercial or for non-profit educational purpose. Works that transfer the original by adding new creative authorship are more likely to be considered fair use than those that do not. Um, However, even a reproduction can be considered a fair use in some cases. It depends. And the second factor is the um, nature of the copyrighted work. The scope of fair use is generally broader for factor-based works than it is for fanciful works, and broader for published works than for unpublished one. The third fair use factor is the portion you plan to use. Generally, the more that is taken, the less likely it is to be fair use. The fourth factor is the effect on the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. A use that supplants the market for the original is unlikely to qualify as fair. So certain uses are favored as fair use in the statute, such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, including like multiple copies for classroom use, scholarship, and research. A non-profit digital archive for scholarly or research use, for example, would be favored by the law. Uh, but still, these four factors must be evaluated in each case. So this is something you need to pay attention when digitizing in copyright materials. Basically, so if you get permission by the copyright owner, it's fine. And if your library and archives owns the material, it's fine. And for other situations, it really depends. So this is I'm not sure if you have see the Creative Commons license before. So actually, in my website for 7.1, I have included the Creative Commons license there. So Creative Commons is a non-profit organization that enables the sharing and use of creativities and knowledge through free legal tools. So if you see certain materials like images, articles, has Creative Commons license, that means you can just use them. So these are different types of CC license. I haven't seen those very often. Usually, those authors who accept a CC license will use the first one, which is this one. It lets other distribute, remix, tweak, and build upon their work, even commercially, as long as you credit those users for the original creations. So this one, the first one, is the most accommodating of license offered. So you can take a look at different licenses they have. Yeah, so if the material you want to digitalize has a CC license, you are very lucky. So the authors are very kind, actually. Okay, so from here, from slide 18 to 23, those slides gives a brief introduction about the major issues that could occur in data library building. So again, I strongly recommend you to take the LS 562 data libraries. So that course will have like more detailed explanations of DL building. So there are four major issues from my view of data, data library planning. First is scalability, and then interoperability, standard, and sustainability. So the first one is basically about the how large is the digital library, is the digital collections. Most data library projects cannot scale up due to like software, hardware limitations, operational overhead, human and physical requirements, or other unexpected difference in functionalities and performance. But if you just want to build like a small collection, um, then this is not a problem. It really depends on the nature of your digital collections. And interoperabilities, you could have problem when different computing systems working together, or you could have trouble when you work with another institution, communities, or um, classifications of information, technical areas in building a certain digital library. And standard, so it is an issue that related to the interoperabilities. So for example, if you collaborate with another library or another archive, you may have different like metadata formats, network protocols, so it will be difficult for you to cooperate with each other. And sustainability, of course, is about a long-term preservation, long-term survival of a server. For example, if your server is down, you cannot host your data collections, data library anymore. Or if later you have copyright issues, you need to take your collections off the internet. Those are all sustainability problems. So this is the data library building project proposal developing guidance. So questions you should ask before starting a digitalization project. What is your purpose? What is the ordinance? What are the physical characteristics? of the collection. If you have any like anything you need to first convert to digital format. Who owns those material? What is your time frame? How is the project being funded? Who will be responsible at different stage of the project? Who will be the creators? Who will do the digital preservation work? And how will you perform the actual digitalizations? What metadata schema are you planning to use? How are you going to provide access to the collections? Is it for free? And how do you plan to maintain the collections into the future? For example, if you leave that library, who will take care of the digital collections? Will the server change, something like that? And this is a set of questions related to users. Who are the intended users? Where are they? Do they need to have any certain level of computer experience? What language do they know? Do you prefer multiple language version of your digital collections? Will they need help in accessing the library? Like if they need to use a VPN, why do they want to access this material? What's the meaning of your digital collections? What's technology? What they use? Do they need to download certain software applications to visit the collections? Can users contribute to the digital library? For example, can they uh, provide materials? Can they like do tagging work? And how will you evaluate the project success? So this is a set of questions related to materials, like what will be in the digital library. So are they all physical objects that you will need to later transfer them into digital format, or they are bound to be digital objects such as images, audios, videos, or you want a mixed collections? Yeah, what format is the materials in now, and what format does it need to be in for presentations? Will user need to be in multiple formats? Do the format require conventions of the material? Even like if, for example, your collections only have videos, audios, do they need to be both in a certain format? Like for video, do they all need to be in MP4, or they can be in other video formats such as AVI or any other formats? And how will you resource the conventions? Are there copyright issues? Was the library public or restricted to specific clients, especially if you do have copyright issues? So, can you provide access to other users rather than um, like the university student? If you build your digital collections on your university libraries collections or archive, will you add values like metadata to the material? Usually you should do that, and if so, how will you resource these activities? This is a list of the questions of technologies related to building a digital library. What computers will host a digital library? Do you have a stable server, IT IT team to support your digital library? Who maintains them? What software will be used? You will see some digital library applications later. And do you have resources to purchase license and maintain them? How will the material be converted to the delivery format? How will you control access? How will you interoperate with other libraries if you need materials from them? Can the material be exported from digital library software? What will be the cost? If you add value, can these additional be exported? Export. So this is a list of items you should have in a digital library project proposals. The name of the digital library, group members and their initial responsibilities, the mission and goals of that digital library, target user group, descriptions of digital content, process, collection development policy, equipment, software, and supplies needed, anticipate budget, long-term, especially preservation plan and timeline, and if there is any similar data library already exist, and then why you need to build a new one. So this is some team members usually need for building a data libraries. So but if you are building a small collections, like all your institution is not very large, probably you need to do everything. You are not only the PM, you also you are also the at least the collection developer, metadata organizer, and do user analysis work. And the interface design, probably the software can do that for you. So regarding goals, missions, and goals of a certain data libraries, I have one example here. This is from the International Children's Digital Library. So this is their web link. Okay, you see they have like the missions. So the mission is to support the world's children in becoming effective members of the global community, which is kind of vague, who exhibit tolerance and respect for diverse culture, language, and idea by making the best in children's literature available online free of charge. So their goal are more specific, like to create a collection first of certain amount of book in at least 100 languages, to develop a greater understanding of the relationship between children's access to digital collections, to collaborate with children as design partners in the development of computer interface technologies, to provide a platform for operational excellencies that ensure the library growth. And budget is another item you should emphasize in their project proposal. So yeah, have an example here. This is from UCLA's digital library. Yeah, they have counts the cost for from selecting and preparing for materials, and cost of digitalizations, cost of creating metadata, and also other post digitalizing preservation and other local costs, for example, like a bio server. Okay, so from here you will see some commonly used DL applications. I have attached another PDF which provides more details. The first three, the Content EM, Greenstone, and Omeka, I believe those three are the most popular one nowadays. I think in the 562, your instructor will let you use at least one of them. Okay, so there are three factors you should consider when you select an application software for your digital library. First is the most important thing, the digital objects, the nature of your digital objects, what you want to have in your digital library. So then you will need to see if the applications, the software supports those digital objects types formats, if the metadata standard also supports the digital objects you select, and if the application software has metadata harvesting functions, and if it supports format conventions. So I have listed some examples here. So for example, first for the data objects types format, these are the common formats for documents, image, video, audios, learning objects. Depends on what's inside of digital libraries. And metadata format, if it supports Dublin Core, ordinary DC or qualified DC, and if it supports MATS, MARC, MOD, EAD, or any like a certain metadata format you want to use. And if it supports certain subject headings, and if it has like format convention problems, like from PDF to text, if it supports XML. And also you need to consider the technology that the software applications has. If it has, I also have some examples here. If it has basic or advanced search functions, browser options, if it supports multiple language, and if user registration is required, and here the verb syndication. So this one refers to making verb fields available from a site in order to provide other people with a summary or update of the verb site's recent added content. So if it will notice users about the updates of your digital library. Yeah, if it has like tagging, comment, rating, review, bookmark functions, if it provides statistic reports, and if it offers some interoperability functions such as OPI metadata harvesting functions. And you of course also need to consider the administration issues when selecting the DL applications, the software. So the cost of the application, and your OS, if your OS supports that applications, and if you have the required database, and what are these script language that have that DR application. use. Okay, so the first one here is content DM. So this is a commercial. They are software applications developed by OCLC. It is a data collection management systems includes a server on which content is stored, a web-based content discovery interface, and tools to upload and manage the content. So this is the interface of content DM from desirer's side. So content DM also offers a hosting service whereby users store materials on OCLC servers. So here you can see it offers like more functions. Actually, like it has image object control, quality control. But it's not for free. So if you want to use it, you need to ask your library to buy it. And Greenstone, this one is an open source system, so you don't need to buy it. It's for free. So it is developed by the New Zealand Digital Library Project, and this is the interface how you move images from your desktop, from laptop to your to the online server. It is similar to FileZilla, right? And this is the metadata editing window. So this is DC Dublinco. And Omeka, this is also a open source software, so it's for free. It is developed by George Mason University. So this one is I think this one is not only used for, or I should say, it is not only focused on data library creations. It is also you can also use it for digital publishings, just like WordPress. So this is the interface screenshots of interface from desirous view. So I'm not sure which one the instructor of S562 will ask you to use. Probably one between Greenstone and Omeka. So I actually actually want to use this one to design your second or third assignment. But yeah, I have Omeka, but still it needs OIT to set up accounts for you. I think that's too painful for this semester. So yeah, you may take CRS 562 to gain some first-hand experience in creating a small data library, small data collections. Okay, so metadata, this is the last part for today. So in total, you will have 3 discussion board posts. This is the first one, which is due by November 27th, and this is a post 2 I already mentioned, and post 3 will be one DC record, one Dublin Core record. So I will show you how to do that next week. So I'm not sure if you have heard that very common definition of metadata. Metadata is the data of data, which I feel it's very vague, makes no sense. So if you take 501 or 5 thir- 513. So probably you have already learned some basic ideas of metadata. So I will just give you like a very still very brief introductions here. So there are too many definitions of metadata. So it can refer to either a schema for describing data objects or the data that describe a specific data object. So in my view, it's just a set of structured fields and the values that populate those fields. It is not that strict comparing to subject heading, but I think the basic idea is the same. It can be used for discovery, administration, and preservation of digital objects. So there are three major types of metadata. The most important type is the first one, the descriptive metadata. So if you don't have descriptive metadata, you cannot find that certain objects, for example, online, because basically those digital objects will not have any tag. So and also structured and administrative metadata, but still the descriptive metadata is the most important one, and I believe most metadata schemas nowadays focus on the descriptive metadata. So here are some descriptive metadata standard. I'm not familiar with every everyone here. So and I know there are many other descriptive metadata standards, depending on the field, the subject. Yeah, I know IEE. So this one is the learning object metadata created by IEE, focus on the engineering fields, and also EAD, and Dublin called DC is the most popular one now because it is very simple but also powerful. So before DC, we already have MARC standard, the which is created by the Library of Congress. This is the single most successful resource description standard in the world. So we already have successful metadata schema before the creation of DC. But the problem is MARC family has some shortage. For example, it is complex and so expensive. You do need professional catalogers to create MARC records, and it has bias towards bibliographic artifacts, and it is Anglo-centric. So that's the reason Dublin Code was developed in 1994, I believe. So yeah, by the Dublin Common Data Initiative. So this is Dublin, by the way, in Columbus, Ohio, not in any other place. It is an international standard and has been now widely used in every country. Participants, developers are from every subject disciplines, many kinds of organization, and from many countries. So basically, DC is more flexible than MARC records. It can be used in all domains, can be used for any type of resources, and can be extended and can work with specific solution. Um, it makes easier to find information wherever located online. So the code set of DC has 15 metadata elements. So you could refer to this document. Yeah, this is a code set. So something are used for describing the content, such as the coverage, descriptions, type, relations, some related to the intellectual property, such as contributors, creators, publisher rights, and some applied for in specific cases, such as like date formats, identifier language. Um, so I think some of them, like coverage, type, data formats, language, uh, those their value should be controlled by using a controlled library, controlled vocabulary. But still, all these 15 elements are optional in a certain record. You don't necessarily need to have a contributor, creators, even title, and often can be repeated. So this is a example of DC record for a book. So you can see this is the title. This is a creator's contributor. Probably is this is a guy who scanned the book, and publisher date, description, subject, relations, which collections include this book, and type. It has a physical copy in English. This is the format of the physical copy, and it also have a digital copy. The format is also in PDF, and this is copyright. This is probably the identifier used by that library. So yeah, I'm not sure how much knowledge you have about DC. So in our next week's slide, I will show you how to create a duplicate record, and you need to create one for your post 3. But for this week, you should focus on here. Slide 11, the post 2, the definition of digital library. Okay, so that's all for week 9's introduction to digital library. Thank you.